Hey guys, it's Sandro here, and today's video is a direct comparison of two leading consumer ceramic coatings in the form of Optimum Gloss Coat and CarPro Cquartz UK 3.0. Now this will hopefully be the first of a few head-to-head ceramic coating comparisons to come, in which I'll be evaluating these coatings in areas such as their user experience, gloss levels, slickness, water behavior, chemical resistance, cost and value, in an effort to discover and share as much information about them as possible. One thing I should also mention is that when I received Optimum Gloss Coat, it just came to me in this Ziploc bag, but I'm guessing it should have come in a nice package with a foam applicator from what I've seen online. And lastly, I'll add that I've used both these coatings, or at least their older formulations in the past, but this was actually the first time I placed them side by side in a direct comparison, so I was actually really interested myself as to how they would compare to one another. Now the two test panels used in this video have been completely decontaminated and compounded with a final IPA wipe down, but I left the aggressive compounding haze and swirls in the finish like I normally do, as it helps show the difference of the products better on camera. And I do all of this as well as all the other shots, angles and lighting, because I largely want you guys to be able to judge the results for yourselves and not just take my word for it. Now on the first test panel I applied them as a single layer, and on the next test panel you'll see that I applied a second layer of each coating. And as I'm applying them here, I'll talk a little about what I've discovered about their user experience while testing them out over the last couple of weeks. Starting with Optimum Gloss Coat, I have to say that this is an extremely easy, forgiving and pleasurable ceramic coating to work with and apply. So much so that it's definitely one of the best on the market when it comes to ease of wipe off and overall user friendliness. And it's actually quite unique in the way that it predominantly self-levels more so than just about any other coating, so that within a few minutes there's only a few little streaks or high spots that need to be wiped away. And that happens with extreme ease. So all in all, as far as user experience goes, Gloss Coat is about as easy and forgiving to work with as any ceramic coating gets. Now CarPro Cquartz UK 3.0 is by no means a difficult ceramic coating to work with, and the fact that it has an instant bond to the paint also makes it doubly easy for inexperienced users, as the most common question I get about ceramic coatings is how long should I wait before wiping it down. And because Cquartz UK is applied and then immediately wiped off, you don't have to worry about flash times, and it also makes it almost impossible to stuff it up. But in saying that, at least for someone that understands coating flash times, there's just no denying that Optimum Gloss Coat is so much easier to wipe and level down with far less effort, time and cloths needed, as for the most part there's very little coating to wipe off once it's given the chance to flash. You'll also notice that Optimum has a thin, seamless application and consistency, while Cquartz has a thicker and grippier application and consistency. So all in all, these are two very different ceramic coatings from a user experience and perspective, and it's just hard to deny that Optimum Gloss Coat is the more user-friendly of the two to apply. One thing I always do after I ceramic coat a car is to keep the coating cloths, as they should always stiffen up as confirmation that the coating itself has hardened on the vehicle. Now, I hate all the overinflated and ridiculous H hardness claims that are mostly misleading, but in saying that, I do still expect to see these coating cloths stiffen up quite noticeably, usually within a day or two, with every ceramic coating I use. Now, the cloths used with Cquartz UK did harden up quite obviously as per usual, but I was a little surprised to see that all of the cloths that we used with Optimum glass coat barely stiffened up at all, even after a week. Now, they have somewhat firmed up, but it's more like what you'd see with a wax or sealant rather than a true ceramic coating. So after allowing these panels to fully cure for a week, the next test was having a look at the gloss and saturation levels, or how well these coatings can amplify the finish of automotive paint. Now, as mentioned earlier, the way I like to shoot these videos is based on you guys being able to also judge the results for yourselves. But it's just hard to deny that Optimum glass coat is a little disappointing here, as although it certainly has helped improve or enhance the finish of this hazed up panel, it's really not an obvious boost in gloss or saturation, but rather quite a subtle difference and below par from what I'd expect to see from a ceramic coating. In complete contrast, I also think that there's no real denying here that Cquartz UK has quite noticeably improved the gloss and saturation levels of the paint to really take it to the next level, and it's more in line with what you'd expect to see from a quality ceramic coating. Now, as we have a look at the second test panel, I will say that Optimum gloss coat does look much better here with the 2 layers. So I would say that layering gloss coat will definitely help improve its finish in relation to gloss and saturation. But at the same time, when you compare it to 2 layers of Cquartz UK 3.0, UK just looks amazing here with 2 layers, really taking the look of the paint to the next level. So I guess what I'd say is that gloss coat really needs that second layer in order to see a noticeable visual improvement of the paint, while Cquartz UK still looks great as a single layer but quite amazing when layered. The next test was assessing the slickness or lack of friction that these coatings create in their finish. Now, as I've mentioned in past videos, ceramic coatings don't tend to be all that slick when you compare them to a wax or sealant, but they still should be able to improve slickness compared to bare paint. Now, although I wouldn't say that the difference between these 2 coatings in relation to their lack of friction was huge, I'd still say that Optimum gloss coat did fare better here in this test, not only by how my ceramic coating bottle slid down it, but also just how it feels to the touch, which was definitely a little silkier and slicker than Cquartz UK overall. So onto some water behaviour testing. Now, as a whole, quality ceramic coatings are expected to have great hydrophobic behaviour almost as a given. And as you guys begin to have a look at some of the various water spray patterns on the test panels, you should be able to see that both these coatings are displaying relatively good or positive hydrophobic behaviour in relation to water sheet rates and water bead contact angles. But as we continue to assess the hydrophobic behaviour in a direct side-by-side comparison, it does start to become apparent that Cquartz UK is sheeting the water a little quicker than Optimum, and it's also displaying more propped up and pearl-like water beads and water contact angles. So as a whole, and as you will hopefully be able to see and judge for yourselves, although Optimum gloss coat is still relatively good in this area, it's just not quite in the same league as Cquartz UK. The final testing on these panels was a chemical resistance test that helps estimate these coatings' resistance to environmental contaminations and exposure that ultimately leads to their durability predictions. Now, one thing I want to mention is that just about all good detailing brands and manufacturers use accelerated chemical or exposure tests to predict the durability of coatings or paint protection products similar to this testing, or a variation such as a saltwater submersion test, as it's just not feasible to test a ceramic coating for 2, 3, 5 or even 10 years before releasing it. So pretty much all manufacturers, or at least the good ones, will use some form of chemical testing to determine and estimate a coating's durability. And you also need to appreciate that a coating applied to a garage weekend driver is going to have an extremely different durability lifespan compared to a coating applied to a daily driver that's parked outside 24/7. Now, as you'll see, I used CarPro Multi-X at quite a strong 1:2 dilution ratio for this chemical testing, and I started by mildly spraying and rinsing off the chemical, and then liberally spraying the chemical on and letting it dwell for a little longer before rinsing it off, and then once again spraying on Multi-X and working it in gently with a microfiber cloth, and then hitting it again and working it rather aggressively with a microfiber cloth. So all in all, it was a test of hitting this panel over and over to see what it would take to start to get these coatings' water behavior to start breaking down and diminishing. As a whole, I think both coatings did relatively well here, especially considering that it was quite a strong concentration of the chemical. But as I continued to get a little more aggressive with the application of Multi-X, you will hopefully start to see a clear divide where Optimum Glass Coat began to slowly start sheeting and pooling the water, while Cquartz UK kept its positive hydrophobic behavior for far longer, and it was actually a bit of a struggle to completely kill the water behavior on Cquartz UK. Now, on the second test panel, it wasn't like the water behavior or chemical resistance was far and away better, but it was a slight improvement in both areas with faster water sheeting rates, and it did take me a couple more applications with the chemical to start breaking down these coatings. So although a second layer isn't going to be double the performance of a single layer, it will most likely be a noticeable improvement in both hydrophobic behavior and durability. And as you guys continue to have a look at the rest of the testing on this second panel, I'll just sum up this video with my personal thoughts and conclusions. Optimum and CarPro are two of the oldest, innovative and well-respected brands when it comes to ceramic coatings, with both these brands making various consumer and authorized professional grade coatings. But I think when it comes to Optimum Glass Coat and CarPro Cquartz UK, both these brands have taken very different approaches and produced very different offerings. Now, it has to be said that Optimum Glass Coat is one of the most expensive ceramic coatings on the market, basically costing about 3 times more than Cquartz UK, and actually costing even more than most professional grade coatings, which is kind of crazy. I also just don't understand the 10 and 20ml quantities. As for me, 15ml is the standard amount you'll need for an average to large vehicle, and 30ml should give you 2 coats, whereas 10ml may only do a small to mid-sized car, but 20ml may not be enough for 2 coats on most cars. So these amounts are just a little strange to me, or at least based on my experience. In defense of Glass Coat, I will say that I really respect Optimum for making it in the USA rather than abroad like most other brands. So I do understand it's going to be more expensive, and I'm actually okay with that. Cost and value aren't the same thing, but if you're going to charge 200 Aussie dollars or 100 US dollars for a mere 20ml, it really needs to be something amazing. and although I do like some things about Optimum glass coat, it's just hard to justify these small quantities and high prices based on its performance. CarPro Cquartz UK has gone through many iterations throughout the last 10 years or so, with UK 3.0 being the latest version and in my opinion the best one so far. It's a little stickier to apply and a bit more work to level down, but when you consider just how great it looks and performs, and just how cheap it really is by comparison to most other quality ceramic coatings, it's just hard to argue with its value. As mentioned, I have used both these coatings in the past, and my personal opinion is that Optimum's goal with gloss coat was to make a super easy and user-friendly coating to apply, perhaps at the expense of some performance. Well, I'd say that CarPro's main focus with UK was producing a high-performing coating, but perhaps at the expense of an easier user experience. Who's right or wrong, or which is best, is a decision everyone has to make based on their own wants and needs. But one thing that is clear, based on application, looks, performance, and price, is that these are two very different ceramic coatings in almost every aspect, and both with pros and cons. As always, I really hope you guys enjoyed and found this video useful. Please share this video, like, comment, and subscribe to this channel to show your support for this content, and I'll see you guys soon.